Good morning. It's September 2nd. It's 10:48 a.m. and it is Saturday morning. So I wanted to come on here, make a video, and I thought this little image of this little brown girl was really cute. This video is mostly about me being bored and burned out. Um, and so I was like, okay, I need to get an image to, represent boredom. And I saw this one. I don't know what's boring about this picture. I actually think it's quite cute. I always loved the Powerpuff Girls, and I think back to the 90s where the cartoons back then, I have to say, for the cartoons back in the 90s were actually pretty darn good. I liked watching the Powerpuff Girls. I liked watching SpongeBob was huge. I mean, I remember when that first episode came out. Yeah, I'm a cartoon watcher. I think I've dealt with a lot of kind of criticism from people in the past about my little odd interest. But I think sometimes when you're bored, cartoons can actually stimulate your imagination, and it is intriguing. I do recall having the secret desire to have a cartoon made after me. So this Powerpuff Image Girl is just the perfect picture for today's video. So, I made a video yesterday, and I really wanted to touch on a couple things about, how things were in the past with me growing up. And I've mentioned this before, so I don't want to sound like a broken record, for God's sakes, I don't, God forbid. But, I know that there's people who knew me in the past, and most of the people I would say that knew me through other people. Like, they would see me around, and then, of course, all the blanks about me were generally filled in with other people. Mostly my ex-family members would say things about me, other opinion, and of course that opinion would spread. And I know that, in the past when I was growing up, I would see kids at school, and some of the kids I thought were really interesting, or, people that I kind of wanted to get to know. But, when you're growing up in a community where you are a minority, especially back then, I would say I was definitely a minority because there wasn't very many black kids in the school system. There was a few, but they were so spread around. It's like, they might have went to another school. They might have been boys, like girls generally don't hang out with boys when they're younger or whatever. So, you're kind of the odd one out. And I know that there were certain people who were involved in my targeting. Let me see here who that would be. I don't like throwing out names, and I did throw out names in the video yesterday. I was pretty pissed off yesterday because some of the things I was talking about in the video was kind of triggering me. And how is it that I could know that this particular person with the initials DL would be involved in my targeting? This is one of the reasons why I talk about, the supernatural. A lot of it is supernatural, and a lot of it is me piecing things together. Like, think about this. It took me 1,200 videos to figure everything out. Because, a lot of the things the messages that come through me are in bits and pieces. And then I'm like, okay, I got to fill in the blanks, and then you start looking back, and then you understand, okay, here's the network, blah, blah, blah. So, but anyway, going back to the boredom thingy, and then, me growing up and stuff like that, kind of being the different one, the odd one out. I think what made my siblings somewhat get along with the other kids is because, when you have a scapegoat, when you have a person that is someone that you can point out faults, then you become the center of attention. Like, people will literally bond over hating another person. This is what people do. Okay, it's very sick. But if somebody can gain any recognition off of bullying somebody, then they will do it. And so I was one of those people who basically, I was the scapegoat, the black sheep of the family, blah, 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 blah. So then other kids probably, develop their opinions, base their opinions about me from what they've heard, and then of course they made up a bunch of other stuff. And then when you get people together talking about you, it escalates into something like, outrageous stuff. Like, I know the majority of things that get said about me aren't true, but somehow it doesn't even matter. The energy within a gossiping group, it just starts to take a life of its own, And so here we are today, right? I had mentioned in my last video is that I know that there was a lot of pressure for me to change my life and that sort of stuff, and changing my life. I resent people trying to change my life, because this is the life I've always fought for. This is the life that I've always wanted to direct myself to. Okay, what they don't like, the people of my past, they don't like the fact that I'm no longer ignorant to the game. Like, they resent the fact that when I was younger and I was around people that probably did talk a lot of shit about me, even though I thought that they were my friends and I would talk to them on the phone and everything like that. But what they're upset about is that I understand who they are now, and and what the relationship between me and them really was, which was usually a setup or something that they could use to bully. I was a victim of gossip and whatever. And so they get upset because you're no longer somebody that they can control or manipulate. And that changes the entire game. Like, when you understand, like, for example, you are friends with a person, or you think you're friends with a person, and then you find out that they want you to sabotage your life. They don't really care about your well-being. And then the attempts to sabotage a person. I mean, there's so much that happened in this situation. Like, there's so much that happened in this situation that really there is no going back, And no, I do not have, and I'm saying this in a respectful way. I understand human nature, you know what I mean? And I understand how rare, true friendships are. I understand how rare it is for people to truly support other people. And I'm not talking about the kind of support that you can get just from your friends. Even parents sometimes feel this kind of sick competitive jealousy towards their children. We're in a world where we have to survive, and and the majority of people are willing to step over other people regardless of who they are. And they're always thinking that there's something called getting to the top. Okay, I don't believe in getting to the top. I understand what this foundation in this world is based on, who is the creator of it. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to get on top, I don't seek the sort of things that the majority of people do. Like, they want fame and all this other stuff. I would say I do like social media because it's nice, because you can connect with other people. You can exchange ideas, you can talk, you can, and I enjoy that sort of stuff. Okay, but what I don't like about what people want usually is, or what they desperately seek, is the same thing that leads to their demise. Like, some people want to be, in the industry, but then they don't realize how, when I'm saying industry, maybe they want to be a celebrity, okay? And if you have acting abilities, you could sing or whatever, that's all very well and good, but does that industry drain you? Like, do you have a manager that's constantly telling you what to do? If you create certain sounds of music, does your manager encourage you to change up your sound, where it's like you're not really being true to your music? You're not really doing the kind of art that originally inspired you. So it's really not worth anything. So then you end up having to, sacrifice your privacy, sacrifice who you want to be around, because they're no longer good for your image. I mean, how deep does this sort of drive for materialism go, to where you're enslaved to something? So I would never seek that kind of fame and fortune, you know what I mean? But I do think that people need to make a comfortable living, and they also should enjoy doing what they're doing. Now, if a windfall of money came my way and there was no, what I call that devil card, that card that shows the devil, enslaving people, to where it's no longer even a joy. What you're doing is no longer a joy. It's only bringing you unhappiness. Then that's where it just becomes like it's not worth it. You know what I mean? And I think that my life is rather simple. You know, I do enjoy the simple things. I do enjoy simple things like cartoons. I enjoy things like arts and crafts. I enjoy those sort of things. I don't seek, what do you call it, like massive fame or anything like that, because I don't want to be on that devil's chain. I don't want it, you know. And I think that's what people don't realize. Like, you know, some people, they want, like, for example, I liked working, and you know, many years I really enjoyed working, and I liked the fact that I was so happy with myself that for somebody who had the beginning that I had and the obstacles that I went through, I was very pleased with myself that I could actually help myself learn different skills, you know what I mean, and catch up with what everyone else was doing, because I myself didn't have a lot of the opportunities that other people had. So that was an accomplishment, and I enjoyed working. Okay, but a lot of people enjoy working, and they want like promotions, and they want that. How do you like it when, if you have a family? Okay, now I don't have a family. Like, I do have a family, but my son's grown. Okay, so I don't have anyone to have to worry about taking care of. Okay, but a lot of people, they want their families to thrive, and the reason why they work in the first place is to take care of their family. But sometimes those jobs that they are seeking, those promotions that they're getting, are draining their family life. Like this, that's the reason why they're working in the first place. But they rarely see their family. It becomes a fucking nightmare. It becomes a nightmare, right? Anyway, so I can go into so many different conversations, and this is one of the reasons why when I do these freestyle videos, I try, um, you know, I go with the intention of talking about one thing, and if I don't write things down and have things step by step, then I'm starting to veer off. But I do see how so many things in my life are interconnected. You know what I mean? Like everything kind of connects to one thing and whatever. Going back to me being kind of an outcast, you know, no one really ever knew me growing up, you know, and they would hear my jokes. They would, you know, they knew that I was somebody who liked to laugh and whatever. But, you know, I don't appreciate people, you know, bullying other people, you know. Um, and I'm not somebody who deserves it, but I understand that people who, if people perceive you as weak, then they're willing to bully another person. This shows how sick they really are. Now, all these years when I was growing up, people perceived me to be, you know, you know, somebody who wasn't popular, somebody who, you know, lacked social skills, somebody who didn't have what everyone else had, whatever. And then, you know, growing up as an adult, you know, obviously I didn't have the experiences that they had. And then, you know, people start gravitating towards other people who are pursuing, who have a certain class, like there's certain social status, because this is what, and because I am somebody who doesn't have what they have, then this is why they say, oh, well, she's a loser. We only talk to her, blah, 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 blah. You know, if what I am makes me a loser, then I'm goddamn proud to be a goddamn loser. Because in many ways, the loser is the winner. You know, I think they really, it's true. The loser is always the winner, because nobody wants, if looking back in hindsight, when people get to the top, there's a lot of things that they regret that they had to do to get to the top. You know what I mean? And I don't ever want to be somebody who just like their life revolves around this sort of acceptance from one another. And the only reason why they accept you is because, you know, you either make them look good or whatever. I don't want people draining my energy. And unfortunately, when you're in these little social crowds, that's all they fucking do, you know? Anyway, so, you know, I fully understand and come to realize that these sort of so-called friends in my past are what they are. And then, you know, so I don't see, or I'm not sentimental about it. Like once you reveal your true colors, and I've gone into like the anatomy of the whole betrayal, like everything that these people did. They thought they were doing it behind my back, but I am very psychic and I understand what happened. You know what I mean? And honestly, I get it. You know what I mean? I get it. You know, as an adult, I probably wouldn't want to hang out with you either. But you don't have the right to fuck my shit up. You don't have the right to sit here and like cause me problems, get into my life, cause obstruction, that sort of thing. But you know what? I release you with peace, and I hope that you find something in your life that gives you fulfillment and trying, and maybe one day you won't be such a bitter person. That's all I can do. And you won't hurt anyone else, you know? Today, I woke up with that feeling of burnout, And it is burning me out because I need new experiences. This is what I've conveyed to, the collective. When I say the collective, I'm referring to the head runner, Karen Johnson, and all the minions underneath her, right? I'm sorry if you don't like my unconventional life, but my unconventional life has never harmed anybody. You know what I mean? Sometimes putting people in situations where they don't belong, now you're going to get somebody hurt because people are going to lash out in other ways, or trying to force somebody into a marriage where, there's just too much resentment towards that person to ever, I just tried to move on. When I moved here to this little community, and I had a very low key, I was pretty low key. Like, I never sat here and tried to get people to communicate with me. I remember communicating with one girl that I used to know in high school, and then she encouraged me to get on Facebook. But I've never tried to interrupt anyone's life. I've never tried to, cause anybody any problems. And I certainly wouldn't do that. But I understand that that's the kind of activity that people do. And I'm reading more and more. I'm seeing more and more videos about, this sort of workplace bullshit that goes on, people trying to sabotage other people. And this is what, I'm sure it's always been there, but as you get older, you start to realize just how evil, your social circle can actually be. That's shocking to me, but it does open my eyes to how things really are in the world. When I think about what I enjoy about life, I think about trees, flowers, stuff like that. It's very hard for me to find joy in human connection. You know what I mean? Mainly because of what happened. You know what I mean? Because it is disturbing. It's like, it's sick. It's very sick. So I don't have very many thoughts. The only thoughts that usually go through my mind is, number one, what am I going to do? Like, obviously, we know that these people have created all kinds of havoc, in the work sphere. And it makes me wonder, okay, well, I have to think about alternative options, you know what I mean? And you keep thinking, well, I know Karen Johnson is like this. I was thinking last night, I was sitting on my staircase and I was thinking Karen is like Karen on steroids. Like people call other people Karens, like when a white woman, and when I say this as like, I'm not saying white people in general, okay, but like there are certain white women who are very overprivileged and they feel like this sense of entitlement where they actually feel that they can tell people what to do. Karen, to me, is the ultimate Karen. Her real name is Karen. Oh my God. Her real name is Karen, and she went too far. Okay. She went way, way too far. Like, she is Karen on steroids. Like, way, way stepping over her boundaries. I think that, she looks at people and she thinks that she can play them like games in a game chessboard or something. And trying to get involved in somebody's marital life or whatever, their love life or their lack of love life or whatever. You've gone way, way too far. Way too far. The people of my past, like, I don't find any energy in them. I don't want to go back to any sort of Jehovah's Witness shit. And I didn't want to deal with my ex-boyfriend, Bruce, because I don't, even we might have the same similar interest, but there was betrayal that, and it's not even just the betrayal. It's like, what? I want new experiences. I want new people. I want a different life. You know what I mean? It's like this thing weighs me down. It only makes me feel stagnant. It doesn't give me any new life. I'm the kind of person, believe it or not, that constantly needs new life. And yes, I do like change, but those changes are for me to make, not for people, to like Karen. I'm going to construct a new Maria. She probably had a hairstyle that she wanted me to wear. You went too far. You know what I mean? I have my own dreams, that I wanted to fulfill, which you've sucked up so much of my time. And I'm going again with this, lashing out and being angry type stuff, but I have a lot to be angry about. I really do. So, I talked about starting up another channel, which I am doing some reading about stuff because YouTube has changed a lot in the last few years. Like when I first got on YouTube back in 2000, I think it was eight or nine. Certain things were different. It was very basic back then. Now it's like, wow, you gotta have all this, and but still, I like being on social media. I enjoyed the social interaction that I had with my first channel, my very first channel, because I had exchange. I have to have connection just like everyone else. I have to have communication. I have to have talk. I have to have, exchange of ideas. I have to have life poured into me. And what these people do is they surround you in a bubble, and this is one of the things I was talking about, the settings on YouTube, me having, I think they call it shadow banning or something like that. I'm starting to learn all these new phrases that apparently affect a lot of people. You know what I mean? In the world of the web or the internet or whatever, how things work on social media, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things that go on, behind the scenes, and sometimes, social media is great, but in a lot of ways, it's causing people to, launch these little secret covert wars on other people, and it's bullshit. It's bullshit. But still, my channel, the current channel that I'm on, is kind of regulated and in a way to where I'm not able to blank out of this bubble. Now, I think a lot of people see my videos. I'm pretty damn sure they do. Because this whole thing, my whole situation, I know it went everywhere. And in order for me to, they probably didn't want me to have my message go across, somehow like block me, like I might have been a dangerous person or something, and they didn't want me to have any sort of influence that was gonna, I don't know, either expose them or maybe it was political. I know the religious thing, I talked about that or whatever. I'm not here to throw down the Christian faith, you know what I mean? I will point out hypocrisy when I see it. In this case, there was a lot of hypocrisy that was involved in it. But I have nothing against people who truly, sincerely want to serve God, and they want to do so in the tradition that they were raised in or that they converted to. I highly support that, you know what I mean? But I don't want to be forced into stuff like that. I'm a different person. I mean, I'm what they call a self-made person, and I'm comfortable with that. Now, don't get me wrong. There's sometimes I do have to step outside and learn different things, and I'm willing to do that. That's why I get bored, because it's like I need new experiences. I need exchange. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, my little current bubble does not give me that. It doesn't provide that. And I'm somebody who has, I am. I don't have a conventional life. A lot of that is based on, circumstances. I think a lot of people who were raised in bullying environments, obviously they have their social circle that's, highly controlled. And they do prevent you from moving on, finding someone else to talk to, spend time with, have a good friend who's not going to be corrupted in their mind with the intent of being like a flying monkey to the main perpetrators, So, and it's unfortunate. So my thoughts during the day are really bored. It's like, especially when they have you in situations like what Karen does, the stupid fucking job interviews. You don't know what's going on with your life. They block your social media. So, like, what exactly can you do for yourself? You can't. You don't know where you're supposed to go. And just because I'm psychic doesn't mean that I have those answers right away. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things you stumble upon. You're like, what the hell's going on? You got to figure out, what are they doing? What are they doing? You know what I mean? But a lot of it was from me figuring it out was through my psychic intuition. A lot of it was also me backtracking. Things people said and things that they did. What do you call it? They call it what do they call that? Street theater, whatever. Then that's when you start figuring out, okay, well, this is what happened, because I'm sure that they do. And then they do wonder, like, well, how in the world did she know all of this? I am extremely psychic. I remember when I started coming to the realization that this shit was going on and how many people were involved in it. I had this vision, this dream that we were all in a white room. I'm like in a corner and I'm facing everyone in the room, and everyone was in there. Like some of it was like a bunch of um, blurred faces, but I had this sense of, I understand who's here. Like I knew that the girl I used to know in high school was in there. I remember seeing some of their faces. Like I remember seeing like my ex-brother-in-law's face and all this other stuff. I figured it out. You know what I mean? It's funny. I never really had any deep conversations with most of the people that I knew. They probably just thought that I was weird, and if you thought that I was such a fucking loser and I had nothing going for me, instead of having compassion, instead of like Christians, especially if they thought I had mental problems, I look at this Hill situation and I just cannot help but be disgusted. But I only have negative thoughts in my mind. Like I don't have anything positive. I think about the past sometimes. Obviously, I love music and I love movies, right? And those are the only things I can really enjoy. Because I don't want to think about the people that I used to know. Because even though we had good times back then, I only can think about what they did to me. So that is cut off. My present moment is boring, and the future has yet to reveal itself. And then it's always feels like it's a struggle uphill to work on my future because I don't know what that bitch Karen's doing behind the scenes. Yeah, the one who's amped up on steroids. And see, some people would be like, "Oh my God, you're actually talking to a person of authority." Here's I understand this one damn thing. Okay. Karen had authority, and she has authority now only because it's a very corrupt situation. I don't want work for this bitch anymore. She's not my employer anymore. I left her place of employment in 2009, and I thought I was going to be moving on, only to have her follow me. Oh my God, what the hell? But yeah, she has authority, meaning other people listen to her and comply with her only because they're just as corrupt. That's pretty much how that works. So unfortunately, I have to constantly think of negative situations, negative issues, negative people. So I don't have very much, drive or motivation a lot of times, which should be completely understandable. Why would you? It's like, I remember when I used to look for work, I put my resume together, my cover letter. I would tailor each cover letter. And if something needed tweaking, I would tweak that resume. And now it's like, you know what? Here's my resume. There you go. I am not sitting here tailoring it. Whatever, it is what it is. Because I'm tired. I remember taking like a stack of resumes and printed shit to the shredders because it was like clogging up my closet. Because of this game. I don't want to play games. So I just, it just becomes like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no fucking idea. I think it's evil to sit here and like fuck shit up in the corporate world for a person and then turn around and try to prevent them from making something on their own. Right, by use of social media or whatever. And this is one of their tactics. So what can I conclude from that? Does somebody want to get? I mean, why would you do something like that? You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't have positive thoughts. I don't have like The only positive thoughts that I have are the ones that are generated within my own, through my own imagination, through some sort of form of creativity, through watching cartoons, through, you know, arts and crafts, listening to music or whatever. I don't find any joy in the outside world, you know, unfortunately, because it's, you know, pretty polluted, right? And so today is one of those days where I woke up and I'm just like, fuck, so boring, you know, everything is so fucking bleak and negative, and you know, you can't, it's not reasonable for somebody to sit there and like hit the ground running when they have to deal with such a negative situation, you know what I mean? So anyway, I wanted to come on here. I feel like talking, so that's one of the reasons why I made the video. Yeah, I do need new experiences. I don't like the challenge that I'm living through. Like, I don't like having to deal with people's stupid game playing and in dumb interviews and seeing fake job ads, and I hate fucking here. I fucking hate that shit. You know what I mean? But that's what my days basically consist of. And yeah, I don't like what I have to deal with. You know what I mean? I'm trying to live my own life, you know. My life is important to me. And no, I'm not, it's not an act of selfishness. I always figured, I mean, I always kind of knew that, you know, especially when I was dealing with the sort of Facebook snub type shit that was going on a few years ago. I already accepted the fact that these people are my friends. So I'm not crying over it or anything like that. I already accept that, okay? But I certainly don't have like any sort of desire to sit here and like cry over them or try to like be friends with them. After this situation, you do understand that they said too much. They said too much by doing this sort of action, okay? I understand what they think of me, but in my mind and my heart, and I know that I am a good person or a decent person. I'm not going to say I'm good. No one's good but God, but I'm a decent person. And yes, there's more to me that needs to be I. You know what I mean? And I feel as though my opinion of myself is the only thing that matters, and that goes for everyone. I mean, everyone has to value their own opinion of themselves more so than they do on the outside, because people are always going to give other people negative shit. They're always going to sit here and look down on other people, and a lot of times they do that because it's a form of them protecting their own ego for whatever reason. You know what I mean? And I'm content with who I am. I'm proud of who I am. Not proud like in a like in your face way, but I'm content with the choices that I've made. I like my lifestyle. I like my belief system. I'm a content person. The only thing that I feel I missed out on life is, unfortunately, I do not have social connections. And I would say, even if you did have social connections, this is how it is with everyone. The majority of people really aren't capable of being true friends. They're not. They're too concerned about their own means of survival. So that way, it makes it so that they're going to be very cutthroat, and I'm not interested in that. But true soul friendships, like true bonds of love that is exchanged between people, is very rare. I fully understand that. But I think deep down inside, everybody seeks that. Like everybody, I sit there and think, oh my gosh, I wish I had a friend. Like, you know, and I see this video of this one lady on YouTube, and I laugh at myself because it's like her personality would coincide great with mine. I can think, I wish somebody like that lived around me. You know what I mean? Like, I could just like go out and ride bikes with her, talk with her, spend time with her, go out and go shopping, do recipes together. Everybody wants that. Everybody wishes they had a true friend. You know what I mean? Like a true friend that's not going to gossip about them. They would never do something like that. If I had a friend that somebody was like trying to put some sort of undercover operation on them, I would tell them in the best way I possibly could. Even if I would do everything I could to not compromise myself, but I would at least try to tell them, because having somebody, I will tell you that having somebody go through something like this is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. You know what I mean? I don't know if Karen is a covert murderer or something along those lines, but it seems that way. Because why would you do something like that? you know. And of course she wasn't thinking. And so this is the issue with a lot of people who are in the employment sector. Like they feel invincible, like they have the right to do everything, anything. You know, just because you work for somebody doesn't mean that they own everything. It's like you can't just go and do a job like you're supposed to, and once that day is over, you go back to your house. They want to control your life, who you marry, who your friends are, what you wear, what you do, what you eat, what you think. I mean, it's insane. It's like this extreme abuse that's going on in the workplace, and I think there's a lot of other people who've noticed this too. You know, and I've talked about how unhappy people are in the workplace and blah blah blah. There's too much corruption that goes on in the workplace. Too much manipulation, too much abuse. You know, but yeah, you know, I don't know what to think about Karen Johnson. You know what I mean? Maybe she's just a Karen and she's got a lot of lessons to learn. Like she needs to learn that, you know, just because a person's a minority, just because a person is single, some people are single for reasons. You know, in this case, I have good reason to be single. Who the fuck could I trust? You know what I mean? If money is involved in this little so-called love arrangement that Karen's making, don't you think? I mean, my God, my God. You know what I mean? Obviously, people would want to marry me if I had money, right? I know. You know what I mean? And Karen doesn't seem to think about certain things. You know, aside from that, you know, I don't really think that he made an effort to be a good father, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I go all the way down the line. It doesn't matter. You know, just stay out of my personal life. You know, you've already polluted the waters. You know, marriage is not on my mind. It has not been. You know, I think some people think, oh, she wants to get married. No, what I want is a good fucking friend. That's what I want. A good fucking friend. Someone I can really enjoy, someone I can trust. Okay? And I might end up dying, you know, never having one. And if that's the case, I'm better off that way. Because I think it's better for me to have sincerity in my life than having people who are going to put my life in jeopardy, gossip about me, mistreat me, abuse me, blah, 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 blah. You know, there is something about my personality, I understand, because I'm an intelligent person and people want to immediately compete against me. I suspect my ex-husband wanted to compete against me, and that's unfortunate. See, and that's one of the reasons why it's important for me to be around people who are my equals, meaning have the same sense or same level of intellectual abilities, that sort of stuff. That's important, okay? Because if people are not on the same level, then they're always going to compete against you. I don't want to compete against people. That's not my intention. I want a equal level of exchange, you know? And that's not to say that I wouldn't be friends with somebody who doesn't have a high IQ or whatever, because obviously, you know, I'm a kind person. If somebody needed something and needed help, I would do that. But there's a certain difference between the kind of friend that you might, you know, show concern about. You greet them, you know, how are you, that sort of stuff. You show concern for, and then there's a difference between having that one friend that you just, you know, you connect with. You connect with. You can spend hours on the phone. If they go away for a while and they come back after a long period of time, you can pick up right where you left off. You know, those kind of friends are very rare. Okay, but I think that those are the only kind of friends that are worth anything. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this video. And I'm done talking. I'm gonna go back to my little fantasy of having my own cartoon. Me as a Powerpuff Girl. Can you see it? I'm gonna come back later. Take care. Bye bye.